Hi, everybody. Welcome to the program. It is so great to have you. Okay, sometimes there are markers in life that kind of send me on a bit of a head trip. And today is one of them, because I didn't realize that 30 years had passed since Selena was murdered. And if you don't know who Selena is, you should. She was this unbelievable Tejano star, globally famous, massive. And she was making huge inroads into American pop culture too, when the president of her fan club shot her dead. Simple as that. Star there, forever remembered as just somebody who was so innovative and so capable, so talented. She was masterfully portrayed by Jennifer Lopez in a movie called Selena. And if you haven't seen that movie, I highly recommend it, because it was Jennifer Lopez's breakout film. And I could barely tell the difference between J-Lo and Selena. I mean, she was roundly applauded for her performance in that movie. Some of the songs that Selena sang, you may know, even though you may not know they were Selena. I mean, listen to this one. This is one of her world famous ones, Como de Flor. And she also sang I Could Fall in Love. And just fabulous songs. Take a listen. And that's my favorite one, Bitty Bitty Bum Bum. I love that song so much. I lived in Texas. I moved to Texas the year that she was killed. And so it had a huge mark on me. Her killer wants parole and is eligible. And two people who were on the scene of that murder for hours and hours during the standoff to arrest Yolanda Saldivar, who killed her, they're going to be on the show tonight. And they have diametrically opposed opinions as to whether Yolanda should be freed. And I know you do too, but you've got to hear both of them. So that's coming up in just a moment. Then there's this. I just don't know if you saw these or saw someone who got these over Christmas. Meta glasses. The weird thing is every time I put them on, I can hear the tone go boing, and I keep thinking it's in the room, but it's in my head. So you couldn't hear it, but I could. These are smart glasses by Meta, you know, Mark Zuckerberg's big company. And they're so crazy. I could take a picture of you right now. In fact, I think I will. Hold on. You might see the light go off. Okay. So I take a picture of you, and then I can also like ask Meta, what am I looking at? And it'll tell me. It goes to the internet. And it tells me what I'm looking at. There's so many features. You can also ask things like, hey, Meta, I'm on Bourbon Street. Are there any barricades to this street? Can I drive down this street in New Orleans? How busy is this street, say, on a typical New Year's Eve? And the reason I show you these is because the murderer who killed 14 people on New Year's Eve, there you go. He was wearing them. He was wearing them when he was shot and killed. And they now know that he was wearing them prior to the actual murder that night. So what was he collecting? What data was he using? What was he doing with this brand new, amazing technology to become a better killer? I'm going to go into all of that in just a moment. Also, some really cool information about the Tesla Cybertruck and how not just the Tesla Cybertruck, but all kinds of electric vehicles are basically spying on us, and not just a little, a lot. And then tonight also, I'm really happy about this story. If you were watching Banfield over the course of the holidays, my colleague Jesse Weber sat in for me, and he did this great interview with a rapper named Trae Tha Truth. And Trae was just at his moment's lowest, right? When he was telling us about his 6-year-old daughter who vanished, was allegedly abducted by the non-custodial parent, the child's mom. And it had been months that he'd been looking for her, months upon months. And boy, did he get a New Year's Day surprise. They found her, and she's okay. And we've got the reunion that you cannot miss. I'm going to start here, though. To generations of adoring fans, Selena Quintanilla Perez, or simply Selena, was and still is the queen of Tejano. A superstar of Mexican-American music, a cultural icon by the age of 19, and a Grammy winner by the age of 23. But March of this year is going to mark 30 years since Selena died. She's been gone for 30 years. How is that for a gut punch? It's longer than a lot of her fans have even been alive. The real shock, of course, for those of us who were around back then, was how Selena died, shot to death by the president of her fan club at a South Texas motel.
What is your location? Days in Motel. It's 901 Navigation Boulevard. What's wrong, ma'am? We have a woman ran in the lobby, said she's been shot. She's laying on the floor and there's blood. Okay, what room number? Okay. Where are you? How old is she? She looks about 20. Okay, who saw her? Where is it? She's in the lobby right now? Yes, ma'am. She just passed out. Okay. Still there? I already have to call in. I think you need to send a police unit, too. It'll go off for me. Okay. Somebody give us some information so we can get the suspect. Okay. You don't know anything else about who might have done it or anything like that? It's another lady. That's all I know. We're trying to find out. And okay. And this lady's about 40 years old? 20. Okay. Yolanda? She's a suspect? Oh, okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Selena debuted in a family band with two of her older sisters, but her big break came in 1987 when she was just 15. She won the Tejano Music Awards, Female Vocalist of the Year, and that helped her get a record deal. Selena sang in Spanish, even though English was her first language. Texas Monthly, fantastic magazine, I used to read it all the time when I lived there, it said this about her music, quote, "It validated the cultural duality of the majority of her fans, proving that you could embrace the traditions of the land you came from while still being hip and modern." Her 1992 single, Como la Flor, propelled Selena to the peak of fame and success and still holds the world record for most video uploads of people lip-syncing to a single song in 1 hour. The Queen of Tejano was also a role model, seen as humble and hardworking. She was the owner of 2 boutiques in Texas that sold her own clothing line and offered beauty services. Remember when I said something about J-Lo? Well, Selena's life story and her death was masterfully told by Jennifer Lopez in the 1997 biographical film called simply Selena. J-Lo immersed herself in Selena's life. She spent time with Selena's family. She even slept in Selena's bed. It was J-Lo's breakout role and the first top role for a Latina in a major studio film. Not only did J-Lo capture Selena's rise to superstardom, she helped hundreds of thousands of people who did not even know Selena understand what a critical part Selena played in pop culture and music. And by the way, I could barely tell them apart. I mean, the performance was so convincing. Here's the sad part of the story, though. On the last day of March in 1995, Selena's life would end at the hands of a woman named Yolanda Saldivar. Saldivar not only ran Selena's fan club, she managed those shops until the family began to suspect that Yolanda was stealing from them. And when Selena confronted her at a Days Inn motel in Corpus Christi, Texas, Saldivar shot her. Strangely, she was shot in the shoulder, and she was able to reach the lobby and name her attacker. But Selena lost so much blood, that shot was fatal. And for the next 9 to 10 hours that followed, police engaged in a standoff with a hysterical Yolanda Saldivar in the parking lot of that motel. Saldivar still had the gun, and she was threatening to kill herself almost the entire 9 hours. Audio of those negotiations, well, that was played at her trial and replayed years later in an Oxygen docuseries called Selena and Yolanda, The Secrets Between Them. Saldivar claims she was driven to desperation by Selena's father, Abraham.
Abraham, he started noticing that Selena was occupying a lot of her time to her businesses. He started getting angry about that because it was conflicting with her recording, her career as a singer. That was his baby. He wanted to control her time, wanted to control her whereabouts, and she was not gonna have none of that. So he kept asking me, what is she doing? Where is she at? And I couldn't tell him because I was more loyal to her than to him. And when I would not, anger started coming my way.
man has done to me is incredible, Larry.
It is.
He slashed 2 tires in my car. He put 2 bullets in my car.
Yes.
My friend's father.
In October of '95, Yolanda Saldivar was convicted of Selena's murder. She was sentenced to life in prison, no parole for 30 years. And now here we are, 30 years later. Saldivar is asking for parole, which under the terms of her sentence, she is entitled to do. A former inmate who served alongside her said that everyone hates her in prison and that there's even a bounty on her head, which is reason enough to want out. But Saldivar apparently feels that she's paid her debt for what she always claimed was an accidental shooting. She says that when she shot Selena, she really meant to kill herself. There is no shortage of opinions as to whether Yolanda Saldivar should get out of prison or not. And some of those opinions come from the people directly involved the day of the murder, 2 of whom are on my show tonight and are diametrically opposed. Larry Rucker Young was the Corpus Christi police officer you just heard negotiating with Yolanda for 7 hours and brought that standoff to a peaceful end, and he is here with me live right now. Larry, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate this. Can you take me back before we get to your opinion of whether Yolanda deserves parole or not? Can you take me back to that day you got that call, you showed up on the scene, ultimately taking over for the officer who'd been trying to get Yolanda out of that truck? 2 hours in, you're there, and you throw her a phone, because it's 30 years ago. We don't all have phones, but you throw her a phone and you begin talking. Take me from there.
Well, it was something that we'd never done before, quite like that. A lot of people out there. There are people up and down the road. There are people on the freeway, vehicles actually stopping freeway traffic, people hanging over the overpass. I don't know who this person is that I'm supposed to be talking to and trying to get them to give up, I guess you might say. I didn't know, didn't have any information on who the victim was. Not that those things really matter to a hostage and crisis negotiator. We're going to do the same thing for everybody. But there's a lot of confusion going on, a lot of chaos, and a lot of information that needs to be shared with our team, and naming of a primary negotiator, which is done by our lieutenant. I'm a team leader, or was a team leader, but the lieutenant determines who takes over at that point, who's best suited or whatever. So
from what I remember, and I mean, I came to America 30 years ago this year. This was one of the first big stories that I covered. From what I remember, Yolanda had the radio on in the vehicle, and that made things harder for you. Can you explain why that was?
I'll tell you, that was extremely difficult because you're trying to establish a rapport with someone who's going through a lot of trauma, all the chaos going on. There's people running around outside that's distracting everything. So, and then once we get a good rapport with her, I'm starting to try to feel things out that's going on around her, try to understand where she's coming from, what happened, just the different things like that. And then I hear a radio in the background, and it's talking about the situation that we're both involved in. And it's also talking about Yolanda, Selena. And at one point it starts talking about Selena was dead, and which was a very bad timing for me, very bad timing because now I've got to find out a way to distract her. And because we don't want her to hear that, because she was extremely remorseful, extremely upset. I mean, she very believable as far as committing suicide. And she had the means to do it right there in her hand. And so
I think for anybody who didn't catch the top here, Larry, she was the president of Selena's fan club. She was arguably Selena's biggest fan. And so I can only imagine what it sounded like to be talking to her, especially when she started to hear the radio news that she might have actually killed her idol.
I don't think she ever heard that because her attitude, her demeanor, her emotions never changed. She was just, I mean, she was extremely hurt. I mean, she cried so much. It was, it's hard to look past that and talk to someone who is so emotional. And then I'm trying to talk over what I'm hearing as a depiction that Selena has been killed and she's now dead. And you don't want Yolanda to hear that because Yolanda was asking about Selena's um, how was she, her condition, where is she at? You know, I, this is my friend. I mean, we were best friends. We've been hanging out. I love her so much. All these different emotions being described to me, and me knowing that because the information is coming in not from the radio, as the official was, the detectives were telling my team members what's going on at the hospital, what the doctors are saying, what the family's doing, and all that. So I'm hearing it from a number of different sources that I don't want Yolanda to hear this because it could excite her into committing suicide. And we definitely didn't want that. We want to bring everything
So with all
to
the
a good end.
yeah, with all the crying, with the remorse that you said you really heard in her voice, the suggestions that this was an accident that she made to you. Do you believe that 30 years later now that Yolanda Saldivar should be released? She should get parole?
Well, let me say this. She didn't say to me, she never said it was an accident. She never said it to me. She said it much later on to someone else. And she might have been talking about when I suggested to her to put down the gun before someone got hurt because she was flaying the gun around like so. And there are people all over the place out there. So you could actually have an accident from that point. But she never told me it was an accident. She just remorseful that it happened. She never even described what happened. She just said the gun went off. That's all she ever told me, and she just cried and had other emotions and stuff. But no, it wasn't quite like that.
But do you think that Yolanda should be paroled now 30 years later?
I do. I really do. Um, murder as we know it is when you plan something, you come prepared to do harm to someone else, you plan for it and so forth. I never got that feeling with her at all over the 7.5 hours that I talked to her. I never felt that she planned anything. That they had spent the morning together. They had gone places. They'd eaten together. This was something normal that they did. The information that I had was that Selena had come there to the hotel to retrieve something, and they'd already been together. And so maybe emotions got, you know, strong or whatever. Maybe accusations made. I don't really know. Nobody's there, here to tell us. One person's gone, the other person's claiming something. We don't really know. But it's been 30 years, and they apparently were the best of friends. And this is my personal opinion based on the time that I spent talking to her and the emotions that I felt from it and what I know about the case. Yeah, I think it's about time.
Larry Rucker Young, you are really good at your job, spending, upwards of 7-8 hours talking to her and bringing her out peacefully to face justice. And here we are 30 years later able to talk about it. Thank you for doing that job, for doing your duty. And thanks for being on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, now I want to bring in a former Corpus Christi police sergeant named John Houston, who was first on the scene of Selena's murder. John, great of you to be here. Thank you so much. You just heard what Larry Rucker said. He spent all those hours after you had spoken with Yolanda Saldivar trying to get her out of that truck. He got her out of that truck. He feels that the remorse was honest in her voice, and he thinks that she should have her chance at parole now, 30 years later. Mr. Houston, how do you feel about it?
I understand what Larry's saying. I was a cop for 39 years before I retired. Spent 3 hours talking to her, and I understand where he's coming from. My perspective is a little different because in my conversations with her, you know, she had a loaded gun. She had the hammer pulled back. She had it up against her head. She made comments about the father hating her. She made comments about he made me do it. He made me shoot her. He made me shoot her. It implies an intent to do harm. I don't think she went to the motel and said, I'm going to kill her. But I think because of the allegations of theft over a week earlier up in San Antonio, Selena coming to the motel to get allegedly documents or whatever, things got heated. She pulled out a gun and she said, I mean, she never told me that it was an accidental shooting, but she implied in the specials that it was just an accident, you know. And my thing is, well, the gun had the hammer cocked back, and that's the easiest time for a weapon to discharge. And it was up against her head for 3 hours with me and 6 hours with Larry, and it never went off. It just never did. And I just think with the comments she said and how she talked to me about the father getting in the way, getting between her, trying to interrupt a relationship that they had for a long time, and she wasn't going to let him do it. You know, to me, that's not a remorseful person. That's somebody that, you know, and if it was accidental, she jumped in a truck and fled the scene. She didn't even bother trying to help her or like follow her to the lobby and call 911 or do anything. She just wanted to get out. And then, of course, you know, over 9 hours, you have a long time to create a story. In 30 years, you can even create a better one. You know, so I don't know.
Sergeant Houston, can I ask you your opinion? Do you think that Yolanda Saldivar should be paroled?
Not at this time. I don't see any remorse in the things that she says, the TV publicity. I think, you know, I have 2 daughters, and if I had a 24-year-old daughter who had been killed in cold blood, is there enough time? Is the punishment? You don't get to hear from the victim. You know, we'll never hear from her again. And it's not that she's famous, because we have a lot of murders, you know, of people no one even knows their name. But it's just somebody needs to speak out for her. And I think she needs to do her time, and maybe someday she'll tell the truth and she'll take responsibility for what she did, because I don't think she did at the time. But I do understand my partner's concept, because over 30, 40 years, you get a little, you change your opinions a little better.
Sergeant Houston, I so appreciate you taking time to speak with us about this, and I hope we can speak again, because the process is only just beginning. It's a couple of months away until we hear anything, so thank you for this.
Oh, thank you so much. You have a nice night.
And we will continue to follow it. Like I said, paperwork's just been filed, but it's March 30th, when we're going to know a little bit more about this. Got to take a quick break, but not before I tell you about this afternoon in New Orleans. President Biden and Mrs. Biden laying flowers in the French Quarter near the spot where 14 people died in that New Year's Day terrorist attack on Bourbon Street. The Bidens also met with family members of the victims. So quite a sad scene down there in New Orleans. When a Tesla Cybertruck exploded on New Year's Day in front of the Trump Hotel in Vegas, data from the vehicle and from all of the charging stations that it visited allowed the investigators to quickly ID the driver and ensure that there was no further threat. Yay. That is a high-tech success story. Yeah, there's a but, and that's this. Where is the line when it comes to collecting and using and sharing all of that data, your data? Would it be okay, for instance, for a car maker to call the police when a driver runs through a red light? Or would it be okay for that car maker to send video to a driver's spouse when she meets somebody at a motel? How much is too much when it comes to digital access to your private life? Our NewsNation correspondent Rich McHugh took a deep dive into everything that our vehicles know about us and what the car companies are doing with that knowledge.
When the explosion sent shockwaves across the country, there were few answers from federal and local authorities. In fact, some of our first answers came from a post on X by Elon Musk. Quote, We have now confirmed that the explosion was caused by very large fireworks and or a bomb carried in the bed of the rented Cybertruck and is unrelated to the vehicle itself. All vehicle telemetry was positive at the time of the explosion. Vehicle telemetry, in other words, transmitting data. When the Las Vegas Metro Police and the FBI weighed in, it was clear. Every day they gleaned more information from the data that Cybertruck transmitted.
I have to thank Elon Musk specifically for being able to capture all of the video from the Tesla charging stations across the country, and he sent that directly to us. Those Cybertrucks contain a tremendous number of cameras.
And Tesla was able to confirm to us using the data from the vehicle that the vehicle was not in full self-driving mode at any time during this incident.
While they have recovered the microchip from the Cybertruck, they have not shared any video from inside the truck. But it's the most high-profile demonstration of how modern cars collect information on their drivers and those around them. According to a 2023 Mozilla Foundation report, more than 75% of car brands said they can share or sell driver data. 84% said they can share drivers' personal data. 76% say they can sell it.
The reason that these cars are so great is that they connect to your phone, but the double-edged sword of that is that all of that information then runs from your phone into that vehicle. And the recordings that that car is constantly making are also maintained by that company.
And our great thanks to Rich McHugh for putting together that report. But just to summarize, like if you look over the list of everything that your car is peeking into with regard to your life, it's got cameras, location trackers. It listens to your phone calls, your music, your emails and texts. It can actually look at your phone contents potentially. It knows where you charge. It knows where you speed. It knows where you slow down, knows where you spend time. That's a lot of personal information. And maybe you did or didn't read the fine print, and maybe you don't or you do have a Tesla. But a lot of these vehicles, not just Teslas, have a lot of these features. So the next time you put tape over the camera on your laptop, just know that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? My colleague Jesse Weber was sitting in for me a few weeks back when Trae Tha Truth, a rapper and activist in Houston, came on this show at the lowest point in his life. Trae's 6-year-old daughter, named Truth, had been missing since August when her mother, who did not have custody, picked her up for a weekend visit and did not bring her back. Trae moved heaven and earth to find Truth and had help from the police, the FBI, U.S. Marshals, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and the Black and Missing Foundation. And here's what he told Jesse.
A lot of us over here are broken. You know, Truth right now, mentally, this is super damaging. The Truth don't have to deal with therapy. We don't even, honestly, none of us know what's going on in Truth's head, including her mother. And it's just not right. It's been going on too long. I tell everybody, do not approach them. Don't try and be a hero, because my baby's safety is first and foremost. Call 911 or one of the agencies and just let them know that you've seen a missing child.
On New Year's Day, 2 weeks to the day after Trae made that plea, he picked up his phone to hear the words that he'd been praying for. Truth was found and she's safe. She was spotted in California near the Mexican border. And here for you is their reunion. Trae Tha Truth joins me live now. Oh my God, Trae, I'm looking at that video and two things. I'm so happy for you to see that reunion, but I also see the trepidation in Truth, and I wonder if she was told some things by your ex while they were on the run.
I believe, man, when I seen her, she was hesitant, but I had braced myself to be strong regardless of when I did see her. But the good thing is, regardless if whatever she was told and whatever she was processing in her head, when she seen her brother, all the reality sunk in, like, these my guys.
Yeah, this is my group, my people. Hey, how is she? How's she doing, all things considered?
She's controlling my house, man. When I say she's always been the boss, but now I believe even more so. You know, she got every day we doing activities. I don't know what made me go buy her this pet goat and everything else we got going on, but she definitely brought the energy back to my life, man, for sure.
Seriously, you bought her a pet goat. Is this picture real that you bought her a pet goat?
Yes, and that was probably the biggest mistake that I've made in a long time. But yeah,
It's a very happy mistake, Trae. I'd have done the same thing. Is she doing okay given the ordeal that she's been through? And have you been able to just speak with her about what's happened and where her mom is?
Honestly, I take it day by day with her. You know, it's as much as I thought it would be harder, she's warmed up. The thing is, love always overrides, you know, and first and foremost, I want to say none of this would have happened without God. So the fact of the mountains that he moved and the people he put in place, that was the true blessing. But I think he's even helping us with the healing process early. At times I see her stare off, and when I'm very observant of my child. So when she may stare off, I know she may be processing things, you know. I feel like she'll let the therapist know, you know, exactly what's happened. I haven't really pressed the issue of what's been going on. I've just been really focused on loving on her.
Yeah, and it's what, 11 or 10:53, almost 11 o'clock Eastern. Here's my guess that she's either fast asleep or she's supposed to be.
She ain't nowhere near sleep. The crazy thing, I can be way across my house and I can, she make any noise, it just automatically ring a bell in my ear. So I hear her now and I know she's up just running around playing, but she in great spirits, man. Super great. You know, it's gonna be a process. I know, honestly, the therapist told me from what she gathered, some things definitely have been placed in her, but she said, you know, we all were prepared that it was gonna be a process, and as a loving father, I'm gonna be here to the end. So I'm gonna ride it out, whatever comes with it. But one thing for sure, she gonna know she protected and loved.
If she wants to barge in at any time, go ahead and allow her, just like I think you're allowing her to do about anything she wants right now. But I just want to ask you about the fact that she was found so close to the Mexican border. Did the authorities tell you that this was literally within an inch of you maybe not seeing her again if she'd been able to get over that border?
They definitely said she was super close to the border. I think, man, once I don't know exactly how spiritual you may be or others, but I think once I let go and understood that she was in God's hands, I worried a little less and I just prayed and prayed harder. And I think it all happened at the right time. And then it happened January 1st of 2025. So he definitely made a statement with that. But as a father and how I love my kids, what I can say, even if she would have crossed in the border, nothing was going to stop me from going over there to find my child.
I was in church yesterday with my boy and said a little prayer for all those less fortunate, and I'm just going to throw this whole process in there as well. I think that prayer does a lot, and I'm glad that your prayers were answered. Thank you for being with me tonight, and God bless you, and enjoy all your time with that sweetheart.
For sure, man. It's going to be a long process. I can't wait till y'all meet her. And lastly, man, I just, I'm going to stay focused, stay positive. A couple of things hit my radar about even more stuff that can add to complicate my situation with my daughter. But for the most part, man, God's got it, and I'm not going to stop, man. I'm just going to love on her to death.
That's a heck of a New Year's present and Christmas present for years to come. Thank you for being here tonight. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.